The manifold colors of Veridonia. In the heart of Veridonia, a city of steel and glass, David lived in a world of monotone. To his eyes, life was a series of grey calculations. He sat at his kitchen table, staring at a pile of unpaid bills that seemed to drain the very pigment from the room. Human logic told him there was never enough, that math was a cruel master he could never please. David's pursuit of his degree felt like a grey fog. He spent his nights in the university library, surrounded by heavy textbooks. Human logic whispered that his worth was tied to his grades, and that his future was a ladder he had to climb alone. The weight of making it felt like a crushing stone in his chest, leaving him exhausted and hollow. The silence at home was the heaviest grey of all. David and his wife, Amara, sat across from each other at dinner, the space between them filled with unspoken grievances. Human logic told David to defend his ego, to keep score of her mistakes, and to wait for her to bridge the gap first. They were two islands in a colorless sea. Late one night, David opened an old Bible, his eyes landing on Ephesians 3:10. It spoke of the manifold wisdom of God being made known. In the original Greek, manifold meant multicolored. Suddenly, a spark of vibrant light flickered in his mind. He realized he had been trying to solve a colorful life with a grey limited logic. David realized that kingdom logic was the key. It wasn't just about being smart. It was about operating on a divine frequency. God's wisdom wasn't meant to be a secret for the elite. It was meant to be common, practical, and lived out. As he prayed, the grey walls of his perception began to bleed into brilliant, shimmering colors. David applied kingdom logic to his finances first. Instead of hoarding out of fear, he began to steward with gratitude. He followed the promptings to give, even when the math didn't make sense. To his surprise, opportunities and unexpected provisions began to flow. The grey scarcity was replaced by the multicolored abundance of God's provision. In his studies, David stopped leaning on his own understanding. He began to see his education as a way to serve Veridonia rather than a way to escape it. Kingdom logic taught him that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of true knowledge. His mind felt sharper, his focus clearer, as he studied for the glory of a higher king. The biggest change happened at home. David looked at Amara not as an opponent, but as a covenant partner. He chose to love her through sacrifice, laying down his right to be right. As he applied kingdom logic to his marriage, the cold silence melted into warmth. Amara smiled, and for the first time in years, David saw the color in her eyes again. David couldn't keep this wisdom to himself. He met his friend Silas at a local cafe and shared how the word had illuminated his life. We make God's wisdom common, David explained, by showing the world how it works in the everyday. Silas listened, leaning in as David described the transition from the grey of human logic to the brilliance of the kingdom. David now walked through Veridonia as a man of many colors. The manifold wisdom of God was no longer a theological concept. It was his daily bread. He understood that when we align our logic with the Creator's, the world stops being a problem to solve and starts being a kingdom to reveal. The grey was gone, and the light remained.